Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about circumference and arc length of circles. The objective is that by the end of this video, you should be able to find the circumference and the arc length of a circle. That objective brings us to some important definitions, the first of which is circumference. The circumference is the distance around a circle. It's found by using the formula c equals 2 pi r, where r is the radius of the circle. Now we can also take a look and we'll notice that we have two other vocabulary words, arc length and degree of an arc. The arc length is the distance part of the way around a circle. In other words, it's going to be part of the circumference. And we find this using a proportion, which I'll show you in a moment. The degree of an arc is the number of degrees that the arc goes around the circle. Now, that's not a real technical definition. It just lets you know that it's part of the way around a circle. Remember, a circle is 360 degrees totally around. So let's take a look at a couple of examples of arc length and degree of an arc listed. For example, if you go length of AB, notice that from A to B, so what that's saying, length AB, notice how they list it first of all. They go a little symbol above the AB. It looks like an arc. Well, that's what it is. It's the length of AB. So that means we're finding the length of AB right here, and I just went and listed it. The length of AB on circle C, by the way, this is the circle C, is 2.47 centimeters. Don't really need to know that. What I want to point to is how the symbol is written to find the length of the arc. Now contrast that with this little M thing and the AB with the little arc over it. That means the degree measure of the arc. So the degree of the arc, if we go from here to here, it's telling us it's 69 degrees. Now another example I wanted to show you was length of AEB. That means we travel from A all the way over to E and then over around again to B. That entire length, we're told, is 10.52 centimeters. Again, the measure is not so important. What I want to get you to see is that that's how we list this part of the circle in red. Now, the measure of AEB, that means we go around this part of the circle. We're looking for that degree measure, is 291.49 degrees. Again, they'll tell you what order to go in, and then sometimes it's useful just to go ahead and trace over the circle with a colored pencil or pen. So I've given us an example here. Find the circumference of the following circle. Now the circumference, I went ahead and wrote you the formula, is equal to 2 pi r. So I went ahead and wrote it again, c equals 2 pi, and this time I substituted 4 in for the radius, because you'll notice the radius of your circle is 4. And to do that in your calculator, you're going to go, turn your calculator on, and you're going to go 2. Now you're going to go times. I want you to use the pi button, so we're going to go second, and this little caret symbol right here gives us a pi times the radius, which is 4. And that should give us the circumference of the circle, which is 25.13. So we'd write our answer in its final form as 25.13 feet. Suppose the instructions were changed a little bit. They have told us that we need to find the radius of the circle, and we're told the circumference is 23 inches. Now, you always start again with the formula, c equals 2 pi r. And in this case, we know the circumference. We're going to put 23 in for the circumference equals 2, and I'm going to put pi for pi, times the radius, which we do not know. Now, we do happen to know the value of 2 pi, so what I'm going to do in my calculator is I'm going to turn 2 pi, this part right here, which I wrote is 2 times pi, into a number. So I go 2 times second pi, and press enter. And notice I get 6.28. So what I'm going to write then is 23 equals 6.28 times the radius. Now, how would we get that radius by itself? Notice it's 6.28 times r. We need to find r, so in order to find r, we're going to divide both sides by 6.28. So we divide by 6.28 and divide by 6.28. 6.28's cancel, leaving us with 23 over 6.28. So we go 23 divided by 6.28, and we get 3.66 must be our radius. So the final answer is r, or our radius, is 3.66 inches. Now this brings us to our goal of the day, which is to find the length of an arc. In this case, we're going to try to find the length of arc AB. Now it's a good idea to go ahead and put a line around the arc that you're trying to find. So we're going to try to go from A all the way over around to B. So notice I colored that in a little bit. And to do that, we're going to use a formula or a proportion. Now, you're going to have to know this formula. It's not going to be provided to you. However, it can be fairly easy to remember if you'll think part over whole equals part over the whole. Let me show you. The arc length is the part of the circle we're looking at. Over the circumference, now that's the entire circle, is equal to the degree of the arc. Well, that's 190 degrees. That's the part of the circle over the entire circle, which is 360 degrees. So it's part of the circle over entire circle equals part of the circle over the entire circle. Now our arc length, we don't know, so I'm going to use that, call that x, over our circumference. We don't know that either, so I'm going to go 2 pi r for the circumference. It's equal to the degree of the arc, we know that, so I'm going to write 109.49 over 360. Now we still have too many variables. We have an x and an r. If we can find either one of those, we can set up a proportion that we can solve by cross multiplying. So do we know the x or do we know the r, standing for the radius? Well, we do know the r. The r is 3.09 centimeters. So I'm going to go x over 2 pi times 3.09 is equal to 109.49 over 360 degrees. So all I got to do now is cross multiply. 2 pi times 3.09. Might want to turn that into a number first. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that. 2 pi times 3.09, I'm going to use my calculator. 2 pi times 3.09. And I get 19.415 or 19.42. So we get 19.42 is equal to 109.49 over 360. And we're going to multiply the two that we know. 19.49 times 109.49. Sorry, 19.42. And then we're going to divide by 360. You can go ahead and do that in your calculator. Pressing pause and press play when you're ready to see the answer. And we'll notice in the end that we get 5.91 as the length of arc AB. And the way we list our answer is we list it in the same way that we were shown earlier. We go the length of AB is 5. Can't quite see that, 5.91 centimeters. So, real quick, to show you what we did, you use your proportion, your formula, part of the circle, the arc length of the entire circle, which is the circumference, is equal to the degree of the arc, that's your part of the circle, the degree measure, over the entire circle, which is 360. You substitute in all the stuff that you know, and cross multiply to solve for the stuff you don't know.